Hey, hey, good morning. Welcome to another move sesh. Today is Tabata Thursdays. Say Tabata in the comments if you love Tabata. I know I do. Just getting my timer set up here. I appreciate you guys waiting for me today. I just came back from seeing my osteopath and I feel so much better. My hip feels so much better. All right, let's get started. We're gonna work hard today. We always work hard. All right, starting out with some gentle twists, loosening up the spine, loosening up the hips, really reaching, twisting from the midsection. If you are joining me for the first time, welcome. Happy that you're here. Congratulations for taking that first step in investing in you and your betterment. And just a few things I want to say to you if you're just starting with me, or if you're just starting, a health and fitness regimen, journey, project, whatever you want to call it, is to take it at your own pace, take rests as you need to, listen to your body. Don't feel like you have to do everything in one workout, right? Like, less is always more. Slow down to speed up, right? This is, especially as we age, my goodness, sometimes we're so impatient, we just want to get our results. And honestly, the slow and steady road is always the most effective path, right, to take. And so don't get down on yourself if you have to take breaks. Don't get down on yourself if you have to modify something. The only way to move forward is those drops in the bucket by, putting in a little each day. I just started working with a new client, so she's coming to my in-person classes. She comes twice a week, and then I give her 2 workouts to do at home. And those workouts at home, oh my God, my leg, it works again. She does 15 minutes, and the reason is because I want consistency versus the duration aspect, right? And so maybe if this is your first session with me, you stop after we do our warm-up. Our warm-up is about 10 minutes. And you do that, oh my God, my leg. It's like I got a new leg. Maybe you do that as long as you need to, right? Like maybe for the first week, maybe for the first 2 weeks, maybe for the first month, you just do that first 10-minute warm-up. And somebody asked me the other day, they said, I can only do 30 minutes right now. First of all, I would say, says who, right? Like so many times our limits come from our mind. Somebody I know, he's a bodybuilder, was training for a bodybuilding competition. He injured himself. And he said the mind is strong, the body is weak. And I actually disagree. I think the body is strong and the mind is weak. The mind sets the limits, right? And anyway, so she said, I can only do 30 minutes. Do you have any 30-minute workouts? And I said, just stop at 30 minutes then, right? Like just end the workout at 30 minutes. And so I say that to you if you're just starting, or maybe you have limitations time-wise. Just stop when you gotta stop. We always do a 10-minute warm-up. And we usually do 2 segments, right? In our 2 to 3 segments in the actual workout portion. So do the first segment, right? And then increase to the second segment. Or the alternative to that is do the whole workout and sit out in certain sections where you need to take a break. And that's what my new client is doing who's coming to my classes. She takes a few minutes periodically through the 1 hour, we do 1 hour classes. She takes a few minutes. So I'm gonna add a hop now. And if you're a beginner, you're new, you're gonna maybe keep it to low impact. When you're ready, you add the hop, okay? And so the caveat to that message is to not get down on yourself. If you do have to modify, not get down on yourself, you have to take a break. You need to be proud of yourself and congratulate yourself for showing up in the first place. Okay? And that's what you focus on. I was driving to the trail the other day for a run, and my mind was focused on the things that I wasn't able to do because my hip was injured, or, I had an niggle. We're not calling it an injury, we're calling it a niggle. So my hip was sore, and running was the one thing that was hurting it. But there was a lot that I could do. Like hiking didn't hurt it, climbing didn't hurt it. Oh my God, so much better. Working out didn't hurt it, strength training didn't hurt it, right? There was one or two things that aggravated it. One was running, and the other was hinging movements. Anyway, my mind was so focused on those two things that I couldn't do, and I had to shake myself out of that because there was a plethora of other things that I could be doing to continue to move towards my goal on May 6th to 11th, which is the Coconut 250. And so instead of focusing on the things that I couldn't do, I had to just turn my attention to the things I could do. I've worked with injured clients before. You know, one who sprained their ankle really bad. They could not run, they could not hike. You know what you can do? You can continue. Nutrition and food is always the foundational piece of your training program, right? Like nothing else in your training program is going to be as effective as it could be if you're not eating properly. And so I always say to my clients, how you eat is part of your training. Probably the biggest part of your training in terms of the amount of impact it has on your results, right? Like if I were to just loosely throw out some numbers that I'm arbitrarily making up, I would say eating is 50%. And especially if you're in a place where weight loss is a goal, right? Like if you're not at your optimal weight, eating is going to have the biggest impact. You can't make up for poor eating. Now, if you're at your optimal weight, I would say right now I'm at my optimal weight. I'm where I would want to stay. Eating becomes about recovery and about fueling my training. So if I'm not eating optimally, even though I'm at my optimal weight, love that word, right? I'm still not getting the most out of my training, right? So if for some reason I can't put in the training that I want to put in, I can still be training, quote unquote, by eating well, right? Focus on eating. So, you know, no matter how injured you are or broken you might be, eating can take up a good chunk of your training and your focus, and you can do that no matter what, right? So, and then what can you do, right? Can you walk, right? Can you hike? Can you do core? You know, can you do upper body? Can you do mobility? Can you put time and effort into self-care that you maybe neglect when you're doing a lot of training? Like I know for me, I don't get, when I'm doing a lot of training where I'm breaking my body down, when my body needs that self-care. Sometimes I don't have time. Well, if I'm injured and can't put in all that training, I can take that time and put it into the self-care. See, so that's another thing that I like to think is keep that time that you had delegated for the things and put it towards something that is still contributing to that goal. So what I mean by that is like, let's say, you know, for example, last weekend I had, say, a 4-hour blocked out of my schedule to train. Okay, let's say for you it's an hour. Let's say it's an hour and you can't do what you originally planned to do because of whatever impediment it is, right? So you've got that time blocked out. You can still use it towards that goal. So maybe it means, hey, I could do a little bit of food prep. So on the weekend I put some of my training time into my food prep. You could do, I've been having a lot of Epsom salts baths and soaking, been doing a lot of rolling, been doing extra core work, I've been doing extra strength work, right? What can you be doing? And sometimes I would argue, and this is, I feel like this might be the case for me right now, I'm doing some of the things that I probably should have been doing or would have been good to be doing, but I wasn't doing them because I was favoring what I wanted to do, which was to go out and run, or maybe what my mind thought I needed to do. And then when you're forced into doing things, you're forced into a pivot. Sometimes that pivot is more beneficial to you than the original plan. So the long-winded message that I'm trying to communicate to you is embrace when things go, off the rails, so to speak, and you're forced to pivot, and choose to believe that it's for the best. And there's a reason why, that's happening, kind of deal. We'll talk about that in a second, actually, belief, because I just started a new book. Okay, I'm grabbing my water. Okay, we're going to start with some lunges. It's pretty cold in here today. I'm shocked because I'm not super warmed up. Okay, I'm going to start with some lunges. What I'm going to do, I'm doing this the hard way. Hang on. I'm going to elevate my front foot. You can elevate your front foot if you want. And I just want it like an inch or two off the ground. I don't want it super high. This is going to target the quads a little bit more, which is what I want to strengthen today. So what I was going to use is one of my plates. You could use a step if you have a step you just want it a little bit. You could use, like I said, a weight plate. You just only want like a couple inches off the ground. You don't want it super high. And we're going to do lunges on the step. Okay, in 10 seconds we're going to start. So basically kind of a reverse split lunge we're going to think of these as. Okay, so I'm going to bring these up here. Can't get my balance. Okay, so we're switching sides. I cannot get my balance here. So our shoes would be helpful. Pulling that core in. Switching sides. Warming up now. So I started the book called The Magic of Thinking Big. It's been sitting on my night table for a couple years. I started reading it. I had a hard time. I don't know why I stopped early there. Listen to the timer, don't follow me. I started reading it a while back, but I never finished it. Anyway, I felt called to go back to it. The first chapter talks about belief and how belief ultimately drives success. And one of the phrases I really liked in it is, what drives failure is the thought, I'll try it, but it probably won't work. It's probably not going to work anyway. How often do we start things with that mentality, right? Like, I'll try this diet, try this way of eating. I don't like to say diet, but I'll try this new habit profile. Let's call it that. That's really what a diet is, right? A diet is a habit profile. It's a way to modify your behavior. We like to name things. We like to have plans or systems to follow because they're not our behavior. So we need guides. Like, I think of a diet as kind of a map, right? A road map of how to eat. So I'm thinking of this post I saw recently. I have this person on my Facebook page. I disagree with a lot of her. To me, she has a lot of mental blocks when it comes to the weight loss industry, the marketing and the income side of the weight loss industry. Her and I butt heads a little bit. And she says, I don't know that she believes it. She said to me years ago when I mentioned maybe collaborating a little bit, she believes in natural weight loss. So I know what she means by that is, well, it's a loaded thing, right? What is natural weight loss? Not using supplements? I used to think that. I used to think that when I was young. I don't need supplements. I can just eat well. I don't know. I don't know if I believe that anymore. I believe that supplements are tools that help us. I think that was it, but we might have two more. I was hoping that was a it. Okay, I'm sweating now. Anyway, I think her thing was she wasn't really a fan of my supplement business, and so she likes to promote natural weight loss, which is great. And I love a lot of stuff she posts, but to me she has this block when it comes to using aids. Now I'm not talking about weight loss aids. That's another loaded thing. Okay, next up we're going to do side lunges. I'm going to grab one of the weights for that for the first set. Anyway, long story here, but she wrote this post saying, if your diet has a name, it's not sustainable. I don't agree with that. A name of anything, like I wouldn't say every diet that has a name is sustainable, but just because you give a name, I think we all have to start. Okay, I'm all over the place here. We all have habit profiles. Let's go back to that. We all have habit profiles, which are really just, our behaviors, right? Our behaviors are unconscious. Our habits are our unconscious behaviors. Our behaviors that we prescribe to without thinking. We don't even know that we do them half the time, right? And the tricky thing is when it comes to weight loss is changing your current habits into new habits so that they become your new lifestyle. That's when your diet becomes sustainable. So the behaviors you're trying to change, are they behaviors you're willing to maintain? Are they? So it really ultimately becomes about the brain and the mindset, right? Because whenever we're changing our habits, right, changing our unconscious behaviors, there's resistance because our current behaviors are dictated by our beliefs, right? And so if our beliefs are that alcohol is where our fun comes from, right? Junk food is where our enjoyment and our joy comes from, right? We assign morality to foods. We have all these beliefs around foods that are what determine our habits, right? And so then when we decide, you know what, I'm going to cut out sugars, I'm going to cut out alcohol, I'm going to cut out evening snacking, our brain revolts because we associate those things with things that we like. So our brain says, you want to give those things up, but you want to be stronger, fitter, healthier, skinnier, whatever. So why don't we just give them up until we get what we want? We'll go back to them, right? That's how our brain works. Well, that resistance is ultimately what sinks the ship. And what we have to do is to make a decision of the habits that we want to choose, right? That we want to replace our old ones with, right? Okay, so let's break it down. Make a list of things that you know are good for you, right? Bob Proctor says, he has this one lesson where he talks about how he used to misbehave in class as a child, and his teacher would be like, Bob, why did you do that? You know you're not supposed to do that. I know. Then why did you do it? I don't know. That's like defines all of us, right? You know that alcohol's not good for you. Right, I know. Why'd you have it? I don't know. Right? You know lots of things you do all day. You know you should work out. It's good for you. I know. Why did you do it? I don't know. Right? So it becomes, we know what to do, right? So you make a list of the things that you should do. You make a list of the things that you shouldn't do. You focus your attention on doing the things you should do and omitting the things you shouldn't do. But meanwhile, deep down in your brain is like, hey, this is just temporary. This is not who we are. We are the opposite. We are the person who does the things on the don't list, and we don't like the things on the do list. And that's the part that we fail to change, right? So the fact that a diet has a name, or it tells you what to do each day, I don't think that's the problem. I think the problem is our resistance to being told what to do, because we want to do what we want to do, and what we want to do is not necessarily what we want to do, it's what we think we want to do. Did that make any sense? Okay, now we're going to because these feel so much better, we're doing those today. They have a name. See, exercises have a name. Does that mean they're not good for you? Anyway, sorry, I get kind of like defensive because at the end of the day, I think in the beginning, in order to change your behavior, you gotta have new rules, you gotta have a system, you gotta have the roadmap, right? You can ad-lib your route to your destination once you follow the roadmap a few times, right? Then you can say, you know what, I think I'll try taking that way. But in the beginning, you're gonna get horribly lost if you try to create your own route. Do you guys agree with that? Does that make sense? So what I found, because here's the thing, I was right on board that train a couple years ago of I'm not doing something, start the clock. Okay, I'm not doing something, I'm not following the plan, that's too restrictive, that's not how I live. Yeah, these still don't feel great. Not with the weights. Okay, we're going to do this side, and then we're going to lighten up on the other side. Feel the difference. So in 2023, I knew I needed to change something drastically. So I found, and this is I think key too, is if you can find somebody that you trust, let's go a little later on this. If you can find somebody that you trust to listen to, then you can, there we go. That you believe, it comes right back to that belief. Yes, I believe in this person, and I believe they can get me to where I want to be. Then you can trust and to make those changes. And so that's what happened is let's just go see each side. I really believed in Jen and Nate Tracy teaching the Best Me program. I was willing to set aside my beliefs and adopt their beliefs to see, will it get me to where I want to be, right? And lo and behold, changed my whole life, right? So I guess the point I'm trying to get at is, what kind of hit me this morning is we're all stuck. We all get stuck in our own beliefs. And the only way to really create change in your life is to question those beliefs, you know, constantly in your life, because you're going to perpetually be running up against the next belief that you have that you think is truth. And the only way to change your results is to replace that with a new truth. And for me, I often have to borrow somebody else's truth, because you got that original initial truth from somewhere, right? Whether it was your parents growing up, whether it was your childhood, whether it was, you know, something you saw on TV, something you read, right? If you are unwilling to question and entertain a new truth, that truth will always be the limit for you going forward. I don't even remember what my original point was, other than belief is what fuels your results, which is what I was reading in that book today. And it's had me thinking, this is why I like to read every morning, because this is how I question my truths, is through reading and trying to find new ideas of how to entertain new truths. So I'm sharing this with you because there's a belief you have right now that's keeping you stuck, right? You know, for what I talk a lot about is the belief around what we can achieve in our midlife years and beyond, and feeling like, you know, our best years are maybe behind us. And that is a belief that I'm seriously questioning, but I prescribed to a couple years ago. Yay! Those were a bit ugly, not bad. We're going to go into Copenhagen's next, because we're going to work on those inner thighs. I'm going to give you a couple different options for these, because if you're new, these will be tough. These are an advanced movement. You guys have been working out with me for a while, know that I've been looking at this. Okay, so let me grab my knife. Now, if you are new, what you're going to do is side plank. Like this. You're going to do side plank like this. And if you're new to Copenhagen's, you can start them on your knee like this. And if you've been working at these with me, I'm going to put something on. No, I'm going to use my foot. You can do straight legs, so I'm going to be doing straight leg. Grab a drink. Okay. So this was me this morning reading this book, thinking I got some serious beliefs myself to question. You know, you're always running up against the next limit, and the next limit is really exhibiting the next belief to question. And so where I take that is back to the self-image. Who am I? Right? So the book talked about success comes to those who believe in themselves. And believing in yourself means you see yourself having that thing that you're after. And that boils down to your self-image, right? Like, who do you see yourself as? Do you see yourself as somebody who can achieve the thing that you're trying to achieve right now? My husband and I are talking about the baseball team. My youngest son's, they're 15. And, or any athletes really, we're talking about the baseball kids, but how this one kid, he became the kid that was on the bubble. He became the kid that was on the chopping block. And ever since, he has been working his tail off. Every time we tell him to do something, he does that and then a little bit more. He exhibits the power of one more by Ed Milet. And he got cut from a special team that was being put together. And, well, because I got you, I'll tell you a little bit about the story. This other kid who has all the talent, all the ability, is definitely the best, the better athlete, the better player, made the team. But this kid has a shitty attitude. He's lazy. He's a suck, but he's good. And so does not have the commitment, doesn't have the work ethic. At some point, the guy who worked, so what we were talking about this morning is work. I always grew up believing working hard will get you places. It does, but not without belief. And that was the piece I always missed. And so because I've spent my whole life believing in hard work, but not believing in belief, not believing in myself, oh my God, that holds me back. So I'll put in the work, but you can't just put in the work. You also have to put in you also have to believe that you can achieve it, right? And so what it comes down to is if you have two people vying for the same position, one works really hard, the other one just believes the position's theirs. Think about authors with best-selling books or artists who make it in Hollywood, right? Is it the best actor that makes it? No. It's the person who believes they belong there. Like there's a quote, somebody less talented than you, with less ability than you, is exceeding you right now simply because they believe in themselves and they believe they're entitled to it, right? And it will surpass ability. Oh my God. It really is the trump card. So I share this with you because what are you working on right now? What do you believe about yourself? What do you believe about your abilities? What do you believe about what you can achieve, what you deserve, what you're entitled to, your worth, your value, right? And who you are. If you believe, oh my God, I can do this. Please tell me that was the last one. Yeah, it was. Whew, I thought that 6 was an 8. If you are putting all the work in with your food and your, you need core hollow next. Your food, you're working out, but in your heart, in your soul, in your, you believe that that's not who you are. At some point that wins. That is the trump card that takes over, is the belief component. So you got to be constantly telling yourself, I am this, I deserve this, and I am this. All right, core hollow, a full set. Doing all the core right now. A strong core is going to save the day. All right, so core hollow, this is easy, not easy, beginner, intermediate, advanced. Breathing through it. Remember to modify as you need, and also, like, if you're dying, sit a couple out. Do what you can. If you believe you are who you are trying to become, like that is truly who you are, your actions will follow who you believe you are. Like, you will naturally do, like, you will, like, how do I say this? Your actions are always going to be in alignment with who you believe you are. Which is why, so when you're doing a diet, right, like you're following this new way of eating, this new diet, it feels like work. It does not feel like who you are, right? So, okay, let's boil it down to simple things. You decide that you're gonna go on a diet. Let's just talk, you know, cliche lingo. You're gonna go on a diet. You're gonna eat clean. You change your habits. You have this feeling inside you, because this is not who you see yourself as, right? So it's hard because it's not in an alignment with who you believe you are. Who you believe you are is who you were before you started that diet. So the whole time you're on that diet, it's hard work. It's going against who you believe you are. And you cannot wait to stop doing these new things, right? Because what you have to do is work on believing that this is who you are, right? So for me, I've been doing that so long that if I was to start drinking and eating crap, the same thing happens, right? As to somebody who goes on a diet, because that's not who I am. Who I am is I choose. I know what's very, very important to me as a value system deep within me is eating foods and fueling my body with things that make me feel good and make me strong and make me healthy, right? And then there's, you know, the superficial vanity piece that's like, well, I want to be skinny, right? I want to look good. I want to, like, but at the end of the day, the belief system within me is these foods make me feel good, these foods don't. These foods give me what I want, these foods don't, right? Do I like these foods, the bad foods? Yeah, 100%, right? If they gave me what I wanted, if they were in alignment with my value system, right? I would eat fries every single day. I would eat poutine every single day. I would have wine every single day. But I don't believe that, right? So it's my beliefs that dictate my behaviors. And so if I were to start, I'll tell you guys a funny story. Hopefully my daughter can't hear me. She's been eating like a crazy person the last little bit. So much so that the boys called her out on it. She's been eating chicken fingers almost every single day. And the boys started making fun of her and saying, you know, oh, Renelle's making chicken fingers again. Renelle's having her daily chicken fingers. The oven's on. Renelle must be like, so they've been teasing her. And then pasta. So anyways, the other day she came down to have the rest of the pasta that had been made for the boys for dinner, or the boys had made, whatever. And there was, she said, not enough left for a full serving. And I looked at her plate and I thought to myself, like, that's a lot of pasta. Like, I don't know what you're talking about, that's not a full serving. It was an ample serving. But she's been eating like a pig. Well, let's just call it a pig. Anyway, she got all upset because I said, well, why don't you add some chicken to that or some veggies or something? Like, add something to your serving. Well, she got all upset. Why did she get upset? Because I said, why are you getting upset? She's like, because I know I'm not supposed to be eating like this. When your behavior is not in alignment, you have this like constant like berating internally, right? That this is not right, this is not right, this is not right. And I'm trying to think what else I wanted to do today. We're gonna do sumo squats, not sumo squats, curtsy squats. I think we might have done these last week. I'm gonna work on those glutes a little bit. Grab one of those. So that's the thing, is when you have that constant internal chatter, you have to determine with your logical brain, you know, so she should be listening to that internal chatter because hers is reversed, right? But if you are trying to follow a healthy eating regimen, and so we're going into a curtsy squat. So you're basically doing a curtsy. Now what you want to make sure is that knee stays tracking over the big toe. If this bothers your knees, just go into a reverse lunge instead. You want to keep your torso upright. So we have a logical side of our brain, but that does not dictate our behavior. It's the beliefs, the paradigms, the emotional side of the brain that ultimately is the trump card, is in charge of the show. And so you have to ask yourself, ask your logical side, which is hard because the logical side is it's almost like the logical side gets manipulated. The logical side is willing to take bribes and payoffs from the emotional side, because the emotional side is very good at running the show. Yeah, it's hard. Our brains are they're like a really corrupt, legal system, because the law doesn't prevail. It's so true. Our ego prevails, and our ego is smart. Anyway, I just, trying to recognize, I think there's a scale of how good you are at recognizing your own bullshit. Basically, I'm probably further ahead than a lot of people because I'm always studying it, but there's still a lot of bullshit that prevails in my mind. And a lot of it, again, it all comes back to your self-image. Who do you believe you are? And that is who's going to decide what you do. We're interesting creatures, aren't we? Animals don't deal with this. They don't have egos, and they just are very intuitive. We squash our intuition a lot of times. One thing that Bob Proctor talks about is, he calls it an intuitive hit. Like, we have these flashes that come across our mind. I should do this. He calls it universal intelligence, or the fact that we're all connected. Sometimes those flashes come from other people. Like, he claims our minds are all connected. We're all connected through universal energy. And so our ideas, they're shared between us. It's kind of an odd concept to think about, but sometimes they're spoken, sometimes they're felt, right? And what we have to do is learn to listen to some of these intuitive hits that we get. A lot of us, we're not even aware we're having them. And when we do, we dismiss them. I think we have one more. I always forget about these curtsy squats, but we may incorporate these in a little bit more often. Okay, we're going to call it there, you guys. Let's finish though with a wall sit. I did want to do a wall sit before we're done. We'll do a 30-second wall sit. We're going to do a minute wall sit. This is going to be ugly. This is not going to be pretty. All right. I'll bring this over here. Ready? Can you guys see me? Probably not. Okay. Going into your wall sit. Okay. If you have a weight, you can hold it out. I think I'll just do this like this today. You want to be at a right angle. So make sure you're sunken down into a right angle. Pretend that you have something between your legs and you're squeezing it. Okay, we're almost 30 seconds in, almost. The buzzer's gonna go, we're gonna keep holding it. Okay, that's 30 seconds down. We're gonna keep holding it. Keep holding it, keep squeezing. If you're new, if you're burning, if you can't keep going, like, take a rest and go back into it, but breathing through it. Okay, the buzzer's gonna go, we got 10 more seconds, I can't believe, 10. We're almost there, 5 more seconds. Oh my God. I gotta be honest, I think I could have kept going. That's really good for me. All right, we're gonna keep working on that. Thank you for joining me this week. Thank you for showing up. Congratulations for showing up. And I'll see you next Tuesday. I think I might have, no, I don't. I thought I booked an appointment. See you guys next Tuesday. Have an awesome weekend.